now here's a little update. As you can see, I've got everything laid out on here, and all the best plans don't necessarily work out. I really thought that this was going to work just fine. I've done similar projects in the past, but given the acrylic nature of it, this is day 6, and it still has not dried. This, oh, it's on there pretty tight. Well, we're going to be ripping it all off anyway. I'm sorry, Troy, I wasn't a real big fan of the acrylic approach, but as you can see, we got a problem here. It's bowing up on the sides just a little. It doesn't look quite right, and the inside it's just not drying at all. So it's still going to look okay. We're going to go back over it with a cackling agent, and we're just going to paint it up to look like what it should. Now, to be completely fair, the Elmer's glue approach should have worked. I usually use that approach on just about everything else I've done, but the problem is the air is just not getting in there to dry it. It's causing it to seal on the outside, and before it can get onto the inside and make a nice clean seal, it's just not going to happen. It might take months, years. Between this and the layer of paint underneath it, it's just too airtight. So we're going to have to go in with plan B. What we're going to do is we're going to put in a cackling agent on it, and we're going to just paint it to look like the color it should be. And to be honest, looking at it now and how, the color that it's being moved, the color that it has gotten to, I don't even think it's right. I think I mentioned in the last video, always have a picture of what you're trying to paint so that you have a nice color guide to go with. In this particular case, I did not. I was kind of playing it from memory, and I think I got it wrong. Nonetheless, this is what makes the difference between mice and men. We will do better. We will pull it all off, and we will do it again. And it's going to look fantastic. So I'm going to pull up off the weights. We're going to take a look at what the damage is. You can hear it. It's already kind of cackling and pulling off because it started bowing around the sides. And we've got to document this because I don't want somebody else to make the same mistake. So look at it. It's not sealed at all. But we can use this to our advantage. Place that on the floor right there. That's not good. But it's going to create an interesting little effect. We're going to keep the river along this section right here, and we're going to make this a muddy bog. You know what they say, there's no such thing as mistakes. There's only happy accidents. No, I really don't think I could have chose a poorer color of brown here. Looks like my dog's been... Yeah, okay, forget that. But we're not going to let this setback stop us any. We are going to use this. It is Drydex. Doesn't hold up very well to punishment by itself. This is why you always put a coat of glue and sand on top of it. But this by itself is great for building up crevices, filling cracks, just like you would on a wall. And on terrain boards, it works just as well. It's easy to work with. It's fairly cheap too. I actually made a board once, almost completely of the stuff. And this is why you always use wooden runners on the sides, because this stuff does not hold up to abuse. And on that particular board, which has seen quite a few tourneys, and I've had to repair it almost every time, the sides are chalky white. It's not fun. It's like having to repair a miniature after every game. I don't want to do it. Especially for those of you that knows about painting terrain and painting buildings. Imagine having to do that every time you play the game. Don't do it. Put wood runners and put glue on top of all of your playing surfaces. Now there's no tried and true method of putting them down, but I like using my hands. You just smear it on like so. Doesn't have to be perfect. We'll come back to it later on and we will sand it down. In fact, probably the less perfect it is, the better off you are. See? Now this will take a little while to dry. I would wait at least 24 hours before you start working on it again. But since we got time, now's a good time to touch it up just a little bit. Add a little extra pizzazz. Now again, you can be really generous with it at this point because you're going to come back and sand it later on. This looks like a cliff face. What we're going to do is we're going to build up the side of this with paper mache, and we're going to make it a nice rock escarpment, however you want to say it. I really like using that word je ne sais quoi. Only because my wife keeps telling me I don't know what it means. It's like, man, that's not a McDonald's commercial, right? Hamburgers have je ne sais quoi. She's like, shut up. And that is a moment in my life. Build up the embankment where the snow is. Ow. Wow, that's sharp. Yeah, we got to come in here and tone that down just a little bit. So we get a little bit of Good, we're just smoothing out the edges. We're just clearing up the point in which the hill meets the board. It's a nice and smooth transition. Look at it, we're digging into this, but this stuff's, well, here in America it's real cheap. go ahead and build up the edge here so that we can make a very easy to place surface. Only because you always want to make the surface a easy to declare one so that you can avoid arguments. Make it a slightly raised edge, and it looks like it's a slightly sunken basin. Well, use the rest. Get a bunch of uneven surfaces. Close a few gaps. Call it a day.